Thank you. Thank you all for rejoining us. It is 2 o'clock and we're back. I hope you all enjoyed your lunch. David, you're up.
Absolutely. First, I just want to start by thanking you all for making the accommodations to your time and schedule to make it possible for not only my team, but more importantly, the residents here to express their concerns, and for your consideration as well, the experts' time, and the presentations that they prepared for you guys to make the time to hear them out, I think was very important. I certainly appreciate your consideration. I'm gonna try to be brief because I think we've covered almost everything here. For me, the biggest piece that I think about is, the applicant came up here and said this was about, doing what's right for the town. And from my perspective, and I think the perspective of my clients, what's right for the town is everything that fits squarely within what's in the current regulations. The current regulations have been carefully thought of, they've been carefully produced, they've been curated for a very specific reason. And while I understand that, the intent and purpose of a food truck court is to provide a family-friendly environment, there are certainly no guarantees that it'll be family-friendly. And I think that's what this really comes down to, is a matter of guarantees. And we just haven't seen that from the applicant side. We've talked about guarantees with regard to no live music. They said they're open to it, but they make no guarantees. We've talked about guarantees with respect to a minimum number. Well, now they say that there's a maximum number, but that remains to be seen whether it'll be actually implemented, and negotiations will come. There's no agreement that they've been willing to sign. We've talked about limitations with regard to the hours of operation of the comfort station. There's no guarantees, though they say that it'll only be amenable and available to the participants during the hours of operation. There's no guarantees. There's nothing preventing someone from coming in the middle of the night and using the comfort station for their own purposes. The seating, while it is not fixed permanent seating, it's not certainly the kind of seating that can be removed. And the practical impact of that, unfortunately, is it invites vagrancy. When you have a foot washing station that's mere feet away from the beach, and you have benches that unfortunately can serve as a double for beds, what you're creating is a potential environment for vagrants to walk on and say, hey, look, I've got a place to wash myself and I've got a place to sleep that's right near the beach. Unfortunately, I understand where the applicant is coming. I think they put together a wonderful presentation. I think the concept is excellent. I just don't think that it is sensitive to the existing residential uses. And that is a matter of policy that has been carefully thought by the city, that has been carefully implemented by the city. It is not something that we can just overlook. When you think about the number of deviations and variances essentially that they're requesting, you're exceeding 20. To me, that suggests that they're conscious of the fact that what their proposed intent is not fit for this parcel. I think the question before the council today is to balance whether the interests of a private investor who, by the way, lived in the area and is choosing not to move into that same area where he intends to place this food court, it outweighs the interests of the residents who live and will suffer the impact of this proposed application the most. And I think resoundingly, as we look at what those proposed deviations are, you have to look at each one as having a negative impact on their lives. They make, and I think they are the community that will be suffering the impact of this application most directly. They've made choices to be members of this community based on the expectations that have been set forth by the city in their policies, the city in its planning, in its careful considerations. And I think the choice to balance whether the applicant's business interests outweigh that reliance, that faith and trust that they put into the city and its regulations and the power of its planning cannot be just easily overlooked. And for that reason, I would ask that you deny this application. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Of course.
Nancy, should I ask Mr. Davies if he wants any rebuttal on the interveners at this point, or wait? Because I've never done that one.
It's discretionary on your part.
Okay.
It might be a good time, or he
Yes.
can wait at the end.
I can do it all at the end if that's easy.
Thank you very much. Okay, so we're in public comment. Is there anybody who's sitting here who has something to say that hasn't been said? Or that you just feel like you need to unload? Come on. Come on.
We can take it. Madam Chair, also staff, I think, wanted to.
Oh, yes, they come next. Okay.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Susan Bonfigley. My husband and I are year-round residents, and we live on Cottage Avenue, about 100 feet from this proposed paid parking lot with food trucks, beer and wine service and consumption, and amplified music. I've emailed you, and I hope you were able to review what I wrote. I did create a Pinterest board to share photos and videos of our neighborhood, as we already do have a food truck in the area, and there is evidence of some of these things that are happening right now with a single food truck. You can see the proximity of our residences, how the streets are currently being used, and hear the sounds as it travels from businesses even further away. The iPhone videos that I have on that Pinterest board don't do justice to the sounds you actually hear on the far side of my house. I would like to point out that we do currently have 2 commercial businesses abutting our neighborhood. There is a public paid parking lot at the corner of Mango Street and Estero Boulevard. There's also the lot where Mom's is set up. These 2 commercial businesses have restrictions placed on them by the town to lessen the impact on our residential neighborhood. The parking lot can only operate sunrise to sunset, and Mom's can't operate past 4 p.m., nor have any outdoor music. I believe both of these businesses are doing just fine with these restrictions. I'd like to point out that the conflicts of this new proposed business as it impacts our neighborhood tremendously. We would be forever at the mercy of this business and these deviations by whoever owns this property next. Conflict 1, paid parking lots invite traffic. Their purpose is solely to serve those driving vehicles. Paid public parking is designed for people traveling in vehicles with intentions of walking about that same area. There are those that will turn into Chapel Street with the intention of going to this new parking lot and decide that the cost to park is too great or that there isn't space in the lot for them. They will continue to Cottage Avenue, which is a neighborhood street, not a commercial street. A right turn on Cottage Avenues means that these cars will trespass. They either go through the condo or turn around in someone's driveway. A left turn means that my frontage becomes a thoroughfare. As users try to enter and exit the new parking lot, we're sure to see congestion on Chapel Street. The 30-foot wide street and the narrow entrance exit, along with drivers likely to cut corners, means that there won't be simultaneous movement between those entering and those exiting. Plus, if those arriving have to pay as they enter, that will lead to more backups on Chapel Street, potentially blocking passage in either direction. The traffic pattern already happens in reverse with the Mango Street parking lot. However, the Mango Street lot does have the advantage in that the entrance and exit are separate accesses from Mango Street. Again, these are activities that are already happening in the area. They're happening. Conflict 2, our roadways will be used as parking lots. It's happening now with Mom's food truck. People aren't willing to pay for parking even though there is a lot next door to Mom's. They apparently either don't care that they are parking illegally or assume service will be quick and they won't be hampering the roadway very long. Food trucks have small kitchens, long lines build up. The cars stay parked on the roadway for a very long time. More join them. Passage is near impossible sometimes. Emergency services to our neighborhood could definitely be impacted. The applicant wants to mitigate this illegal parking around their property. That does nothing for me as my home sits on Cottage Avenue on the other side of Chapel Street from them. As experienced this morning, people will park on the roadway in front of my car, my driveway. My husband had to honk his horn at 7:25 this morning to get out of our driveway on Cottage Avenue. Again, we already have lots of experience with illegal parking. Conflict 3, wine and beer consumption in an outdoor setting that's a parking lot abutting a residential neighborhood doesn't seem logical. Even the applicant mentioned at the January LPA meeting, they wanted 24-hour parking in case someone is too drunk to drive home. This scenario does not jive with a family-friendly place, but instead a place for adults to over imbibe, having an open air parking lot or wine bar is not appropriate abutting a residential neighborhood. Amplified music, I can't say enough about that. I
have
don't
to
care if
call
it's
your
one
time.
person. It
Thank you.
echoes and echoes, and I'm talking to Sandy Bottoms, and Greg contacted me the other day asking if I heard Diamond Head, and I sure did.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Yes, sir. Don't apologize. You're doing great.
My name is Stephen Whitehead. I'm building the house that you see on the stilts up already. We bought our house 15 years ago. But then we found out it was the first schoolhouse. Hated to see that go. We all expected to retire here forever. In a nice quaint little neighborhood, all these little houses and everything. I never expected, I just wouldn't wanna ever look over rooftops of trucks and smells and bathroom and everything under there. And all I can say is, put yourself in our shoes, and would you wanna live like that? The rest has all been, redundant of what was said already. Thank you.
We appreciate you being here. Did you want to add anything?
You know what, he said, you gotta
Just
say
say
it.
your
My
name
name
for
is
the record.
Susan Whitehead, I'm his
Thank you,
wife.
Susan.
Everybody around here said almost everything that needs to be said. I don't wanna really add to it or be anybody's burden. You know, I have sympathy for them and for all of us. Hurricane did damage to us physically and mentally.
Yes, it
It's
did.
been really a bad thing. And I don't wanna get up here and cry because it makes me so emotional.
It
I
does
just-
me too.
I just wanna thank everybody for listening to us and hope that they do the right thing.
Thank
I
you, Susan.
appreciate you. You're welcome.
Appreciate your comments.
Thank you.
Ma'am? You're gonna be next. You're welcome.
Thank you, members of the LPA. My name is Gary Fields. I live at 2532 Estero Boulevard, adjacent to where the requested use change could allow a beer garden. Although my professional career was in public finance, I performed as a professional musician in over 300 performances, many in Fort Myers Beach as recently as yesterday. I'm familiar with measuring sound and the way sound travels. To give you a sense of the sound impact from live music, I measured the sound level from the pedestrian walkway in approximately 20 yards outside La Ola. It was consistently over 75 decibels. I've included a picture of the meter reading in my written testimony. I assume many of you have walked through Times Square and know the volume of live music there. Now imagine if that sound level was 10 yards from your swimming pool, or 10 feet from your swimming pool, where you and your family were trying to enjoy a peaceful atmosphere. It's a good example of why the location of this beer garden is inappropriate. Using the established formulas for sound declination, the inverse square law states that the pressure level decreases by about 6 decibels for every doubling of the distance from the source, and an assumed 75 decibel level about 20 yards from the source. The sound at Pelican, Washel, and Ice that are 45 yards from the center of the property would still be at 68 decibels. The Pelican Wash swimming pool and the two properties abutting the beer garden property are within 20 yards, as like the La Ola example, so they might as well be on stage with the performer. This is still an unacceptable level for an adjacent residential neighborhood. Unlike Times Square, where sound exceeding the town's ordinance, 72 decibels at the property line, might not be noticeable, live music in the proposed beer garden would likely cause frequent complaints to Lee County and the town, placing a burden on law enforcement agencies. Imagine having to listen to that type of music that might not be your thing all day long, or the inevitable bad karaoke. Forget about trying to enjoy your own entertainment. You're at the whim of the entertainer of the day. Our building at Pelican Wash was less occupied when there was live music this summer from the Beached Whale temporary tent, and the sound consistently exceeded the ordinance levels. But now that we're back to full occupancy and our neighbors are rebuilding, we would expect frequent complaints if live music is allowed. My final comment is my multiple references to a beer garden. The developers have repeatedly and deceptively stated that they're trying to develop a family-oriented destination. The only non-hotel enterprises on the island that have